All right, episode 2. The fighter and the writer. Sergio Mora, Chris Mannix. He's the fighter. I'm the writer. Back in Los Angeles. Your pink eye has cleared up. It's good to see.
It's subsided, Chris Mannix. Yes, it has. But it wasn't pink eye. Let's get the medical term correct. It was an allergy conjunctivitis.
It's not.
Conjunctivitis, optical conjunctivitis. It comes from allergies. It comes from bacterial infections. It comes from dirty chips, dirty casino chips. But yes, I had it. It cleared up pretty quickly. I got kids, Mannix. They're always, they always have pink eye all the time. So
Yeah, I'm sure they got it the exact same way you did.
no, they get it a different way. They don't wipe properly. I take wet wipes everywhere. I know that's not a problem with me. So
You do,
yeah,
you do. I've never seen a person travel with dude wipes as much as you do.
Not only dude wipes, but I also travel with my own spray, my own spray, and then I try to get rooms with bidets.
That's great. Good ask there. All right. On this week's show, we are going to talk about Oleksandr Usyk settling, it appears, on his next opponent, Tyson Fury, potentially getting back in the ring, a 140-pound title fight that was recently announced, or at least reported, and boots Ennis. What is going to be the next step? I've got a little bit of news on that as well. But I want to start, Sergio, with the news that Oleksandr Usyk, the unified heavyweight champion, is ready to make his return to the ring. Ring Magazine reporting that Usyk will attempt to become a 2-time undisputed heavyweight champion when he takes on Dubois. That's a fight that will likely take place this summer, potentially at Wembley Stadium. Usyk beat Dubois in 2003, knocking him out in the middle rounds. Dubois has bounced back since then, winning 3 fights in a row over Jarrell Miller, Filip Hrgović, and most recently, Anthony Joshua. Not really a surprise that Usyk picked Dubois, but do you like this fight for the summer?
I like the fight because Usyk's going to be facing a different fighter in Dubois. Since coming up short, it was just too soon. It was way too soon for Daniel Dubois, and he's a different fighter. He's a different animal, different mentality. He's a champion. He's a world champion now. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen in the heavyweight division, after someone coming off a loss, someone have such a great year. Maybe I think it was 13 months where he went through 2 undefeated, highly ranked contenders, knocked them out, and then knocked out on the big stage a 2-time former heavyweight champion. All that in 13 months. You guys should have made him either fighter of the year or at least honorable mentions. But that was comeback of the year.
I would think he lost out on fighter of the year to Usyk, who clearly deserved that win, beating Tyson Fury twice.
Then honorable mentions would have been second for him or comeback of the year, because it was incredible what he did. How he took the undefeated records of Hrgović, of Big Baby Miller, and knocked out Joshua. That's how you make a statement and come back. So, yes, I do like the fight with Usyk because this is a different, more confident fighter. He's not just this big, strong guy that's always looking for that right hand like when he initially came out. I liked him because, he's a heavyweight. He's a gunslinger. But now he pops the jab a lot more. Now he realized that the way to get to Usyk is the body. So you can bet that they're going to come with a game plan just aiming at that midsection, even if it means hitting that belt line again, where a lot of you guys thought it was low. I didn't.
Why do you say you guys? I didn't think it was low.
The media.
Not a lot of people in the media thought it was low. The
media.
people in Team Dubois thought it was low. Like Don Charles thought it was low. Dan Dubois' father thought it was low. Frank Warren thought it was low. Most of the media that covered the fight did not think it was low.
It wasn't low. It was a hip line area. But, okay, I would love for them to do it again. And now Dubois seen Fury go 24 rounds with this man. And Fury, in spots, had a good game plan, especially in that first fight. He had a good game plan. It's just he didn't stick to the body shots, and you just need to counter. Every counter needs to be the midsection. That's going to stop Usyk from being so aggressive on the front foot. Usyk is great at fighting big men, so he can fight big men on the back foot or on the front foot, and from that southpaw stance, it makes it very difficult. But when you counter everything to the body, he doesn't throw as much. He doesn't open up his elbows as much. He has that high guard, so you can bet that it's not going to be as high if he's going to be facing a guy that's throwing a lot of body shots. That opens up the head. So I think this time around, man, I think Dubois is going to come with the confidence and a better game plan, and I would love to see this fight again.
I'm good with this fight for all the reasons you laid out there. Dubois is a vastly improved fighter than the guy we saw lose in 2023, both in terms of his abilities, and I think his confidence is through the roof right now. I mean, getting tested against Miller, against Hrgovic, and against Joshua, I think that has given him the kind of a feeling that he didn't have going into the last fight against Usyk. It still wouldn't have been my top choice, because my top choice would have been Joseph Parker. Being undisputed a second time really doesn't mean much to Oleksandr Usyk. He's a two-time undisputed champion. He's been undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight. It doesn't burnish his legacy much to be undisputed twice in the heavyweight division. I think what would enhance that legacy is beating another top heavyweight, and that's what Joseph Parker is. You look at the Ring Magazine heavyweight rankings. You've got Usyk up there at number 1. You've still got Tyson Fury in the top 5. You've still got Anthony Joshua in the top 5. And you got Dubois in the top 5. 3 guys that Usyk has beat. You know who else in that top 5? Joseph Parker. And Joseph Parker has been on the kind of run that Danny Dubois has. Remember, we left Joseph Parker for dead a couple of years ago when...
Oh, you left him for dead.
Well, a lot of people did. A lot of people said maybe that's the end of the line for Joseph Parker after the loss to Joe Joyce. He beats Jay Lee Zhang. He beats Deontay Wilder. And then on short notice, he knocks out the boogeyman in Martin Bacoli. Like, he is as hot right now in this division as Danny Dubois is, if we're being honest. And it's a new type of challenge. So if I'm Usyk, I'm kind of looking at Dubois and going, all right, yeah, he's got a belt and he's got some momentum, and he had that, goofy call out in the ring a few months ago. But the real challenge for Usyk would be beating somebody new. And Joe Joyce is that somebody new.
Yeah, no, I love Joseph Parker.
Parker, I should say, not Joyce, but Parker.
I think since he linked up with Andy Lee, it's just been a totally different career. He's been rejuvenated mentally and in camp. They're doing something great. And Joseph Parker doesn't have the size as these huge men at heavyweight. So he has the defense, he has the upper body movement, but he still has size. He's still, 6'4"?
He's a big guy,
He's a
6'3",
big dude.
6'4". And to your point, he's a great example of a connection between fighter and trainer. Like, when you talk to Joseph Parker about Andy Lee, it's like you're talking to, someone from the old days about Jesus. Like, it's just like you're saying he believes everything that Andy Lee says, and he will follow his instructions to a T. That's the kind of dynamic you want to have between an elite fighter and an elite trainer.
And that's the type of student you want to have to be able to mold from beginning. Because when you have a former champion that already has plenty of fights under his belt, he's a veteran. Guys like that, they're old dogs. They don't want to learn new tricks because they're too proud. Like, look, I've been here before. I've been there, done that. Just get me in shape. Teach me something new. Give me a strategy to bring to the table. And then I'll pick and poke at what I like. That's the arrogance of a former champion. That's a lot of world champions. Not when it comes to smart guys and guys that are cerebral. Like Anthony Joshua is also cerebral, but he also has too much pride. I think he has too much ego. Joseph Parker let all that go, man. He let the ego go. He let the pride go. He went back. He took a couple steps back, and that's the reason he was able to come back like he has, because he's not a proud father. He's not a proud fighter. He does everything in the ring that he needs to do, and that's the reason Andy Lee's having so much success with him and other fighters, and he's becoming this new hot trainer, man. I think Andy Lee's gonna be like another special UK talent, kind of like what's that other Davison.
Ben Davison, yeah.
I love Ben Davison. They both communicate their instructions perfectly in that 1 minute they have in the neutral corner. They don't overwhelm fighters with, oh, you need to do this, fluster them mentally. You don't need to do this. Oh, why aren't you doing this?
You don't like that Teddy Atlas approach?
I hate that, man. I hated that. I would like a cerebral trainer. I would like a guy to just give me 2 instructions and concentrate on, like, hey, you hurt? You good? You punch hard? All right, look, man, this is what you need to do. Avoid this, do this. What are we going to do? Repeat it. Avoid this, do this. There we go. All right, man, look, we're going to take him to the later round. That's the type of trainer certain fighters need, and Joseph Parker has that. So I think Andy Lee is going to be here for a long time. He was a Olympian for Ireland. Great. Applaud him there. Former world champion at middleweight.
Yeah.
Now he's going to be a trainer of the year. He's
got the chops to be a great trainer. I will say sometimes you do need a little motivation there in the corner, like the Teddy Atlas moment with Tim Bradley when he got in Bradley's face. I think, was it the Provodnikov fight or one of the last fights of Tim Bradley? Angelo Dundee and Sugar Ray. Yeah, he doing that. Even Emmanuel Stewart, when he would get in the face of Vladimir Klitschko towards the end, be like, I remember the Eddie Chambers fight with Vladimir Klitschko, where Emmanuel Stewart, 10th round, he's like, what are we doing here? We don't need another crappy decision. Sometimes you need that little bolt of a
Sometimes
little
then
push in the corner.
Well, sometimes it's great, and it's a great soundbite for the cameras and for everyone else. But fighters, if you keep hearing that, there's the time where you get tired of it. It's like, what the fuck?
It does
man?
have a shelf life.
It's like I never do nothing right, then I'm gonna go get someone else.
It does have a shelf life. It does have a shelf life.
You know, you get tired of the nagging in the corner. So
I get tired of tired of nagging a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't say.
Yeah.
And I know where you're getting at. And whenever you start hearing it for years and years and years, it's like, dude, what am I doing right? I become a champion. I'm a grown man. You can't be talking to me like this, and then you want someone new in your corner. So it's a fine line whenever you want to have those Teddy Atlas moments, because then you get tired of that quick.
All right, speaking of former heavyweight champions and fighters that have been trained by Andy Lee, Tyson Fury has been doing a lot of boxing training for someone who is retired. Fury announced his retirement earlier this year, but he has been posting videos of himself on long runs and hitting the heavy bag. Sergio, we know there is a pile of money to be made in a Tyson Fury-Anthony Joshua fight. Do you think that Tyson should return for it?
He's going to return for it. How many times has Tyson Fury been retired? He's
officially like 3, but unofficially probably closer to 5 or 6.
The man's too smart. It's not like he got knocked out. He's part of the greatest trilogy and one of the greatest trilogies in heavyweight championship boxing history. He is one of these guys that has this special gear. Not a lot of fighters have this. Usyk was able to come back from the depths of addiction and the depths of depression and overweight. He was obese. This guy was done with, and he came back and won the heavyweight championship of the world. I mean, that's George Foreman-like, and only certain fighters are able to do that. Fury didn't have Foreman's power. Fury had something else. He has this mental strength. He has this unique style where he's 6'8" or 9, whatever you want to say, but he moves like a light heavyweight. Great upper body movement, great jab, great footwork for a big man, can fight off the ropes. He's special. He's a special fighter that can give a lot of great fighters issues. He came up short with Usyk twice, but we're talking about once in a lifetime special and greatness in Usyk. So I think Fury will come back, and I'll make him the favorite against Joshua. I'll make him the favorite against Joshua, even at this point. And not only that, but this will be like the first time you would have 2 former heavyweight champions in their mid-30s come back and headline a massively popular show that would still do amazing numbers and still people want to watch. Both these guys got beat. One of them got knocked out in Joshua. The other guy lost handily twice to Usyk. But yet people are going to be clamoring to watch this fight, and they'll do easily 90,000 at Wembley.
90,000 at Wembley, 1 million plus on pay-per-view. It's a huge event, regardless of where these two guys are in their careers. And I'm with you. Like, of course he's coming back. Of course he's coming back. I don't care what Bob Arum says or Frank Warren says. Like, these guys know that Tyson Fury is a fighting man and he's going to come back. You know what? A lot of times I will take the negative side of this and say, don't come back. Don't do it. You don't have anything left. But Tyson Fury's got a lot left. Like, he went 0-2 last year, but he went 0-2 against arguably the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He didn't get knocked out. He was competitive in both fights, more competitive in the first one maybe than he was in the second, but he got beat. And, that happens in boxing. But at 36 years old, I still look at Tyson Fury like he has a lot left to give. Quite frankly, Tyson Fury has a lot more left to give than Anthony Joshua does. Yes. I think Fury's got more left in the gas tank than Joshua does at this stage of their respective careers. So, yeah, I think he is going to come back, and he should come back. And we know he's going to come back. Like, how often do you see really retired fighters, like, putting in the road work, like, hitting the bag at their old gym? Like, when you were done, like, you weren't out there running 5 miles. Like,
no,
not that you were running that
running.
anyway.
I was running every day, and then I wanted to put on weight, but I still hit the bag. I hit the bag 3 times a week. And I'll tell you what, if they give me a call, make me a good...
Okay, it's not about you.
I'll come back. So, yeah, fighters will come back for the right price and the right opponent. Tyson Fury's not going anywhere. He is not going anywhere. He is not going to leave tens of millions of dollars on the table like that against an opponent that not only would he be favorite, but he will beat. I think Fury would have beat Joshua in Joshua's prime. I think Fury beats him at this point of their career. Fury just has his number. Deontay Wilder, on the other hand, I put Joshua favorite over Wilder. It's just styles make fights.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, man. I think Joshua knocks out Wilder. I think Wilder would do better against Fury than it just goes back and forth. That's just the way it is. Give me that fight. It's gonna happen. If you want to make a bet, I'll make you a bet.
I don't want to make a bet because I think it's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen, and I believe it can happen as early as this summer. Like, if you're the people involved with Fury and AJ, and look, maybe you go to Saudi Arabia for that fight and make a bleep ton of money to do it. But if you're going to do it in the UK, you want to do it in warm weather, right? Like, you want to do it no later than end of September. You want to be at Wembley Stadium in front of 90,000 fans outdoors. Like, you don't want to wait and go to like an O2 Arena or something like that. You want to do it in the biggest possible venue. So I think in that sense, the clock is ticking a little bit if you want to do it in that type of venue, but it's going to happen. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all with the next couple of months to see Tyson Fury announce that he's going to come back, a deal put together really quickly to make Fury against AJ, and we get this huge show. It could be a huge showdown, huge summer for big heavyweight fights in the UK. If we get Dubois against Usyk and then Fury against AJ on separate cards, that's a huge, huge summer for heavyweight boxing. So I think that's the way it's probably.
And a lot easier to make now that Queensberry and Matchroom are working together.
100%. You don't have to do, different network deals. Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn talk a lot. That's a very easy fight to put together. In fact, I'd be surprised if they hadn't already put it together. Like, I'd be surprised if they hadn't already figured out, all the numbers that have to do with it, and are just waiting for Tyson Fury to come back and say, all right, this is what it's actually going to take. Also this summer, we could get a pretty good 140-pound fight between Richardson Hitchens and George Kambosos. That deal is reportedly being finalized for middle of June, likely in New York City, the theater at Madison Square Garden, though I don't think that is final just yet. Hitchens is coming off that win over Liam Paro. George Kambosos, he got a decent win back home in Australia to get back in the win column after his loss to Vasily Lomachenko. I have some thoughts on this fight, but I'll let you go first. Like, Hitchens-Kambosos, is that a good fight?
If you put it in a list, it'll probably be number 3 or number 4 of fighters. Look, I like George Kambosos. I think he's.
You think Kambosos is? Well, I didn't really understand what you just said there. Like,
that's because you never pay attention to me.
I do pay attention. 3 or 4 on the list of what?
You don't listen. You just wait for me to
I
stop
listen
talking.
every time. That's not true.
Regurgitating what you memorized. Kambosos is number 3 or 4 in that list. What I'm saying is I'd rather see Hitchens fight.
You don't even know what
other
you're saying.
people. Because you confuse me. I'd rather see Hitchens fight other 140 pounders, other fighters at that point, because we already seen what Hitchens will do to a fighter similar to Kambosos, and that's Paro. Paro is around the same height. They're both, boxer punchers. They're both, former world champions now. But it's the height and the lack of reach that was their demise. That was their downfall. They couldn't crack that long reach. Hitchens has a 74-inch reach. That's ridiculous for a 140-pounder. I have 72. I was a middleweight. That is light heavyweight type. That's cruiserweight type, 74, 76, 78, and plus. So long reach for a 140-pounder. He is not a power puncher, so he's not on the front foot. He's always on the back foot. He has incredible reflexes, good footwork. Popping that jab always in your face, has respectable strength. Not power, respectable strength in that right hand. And, man, that guy's just going to be a nightmare for everybody. So Kambosos has been kind of overwhelmed by disadvantages by other fighters. Hitchens is just going to be another one. So it'll be interesting, but I'd much rather see Hitchens with someone else, like Teofimo Lopez.
Well, the problem is those guys aren't available right now. Like, Teofimo is going to fight Barboza. He's not available to fight. I think, look, that is probably the next natural fight to make at 140 pounds. I think this fight between Hitchens and Kambosos is going to be a great promotion. I think it's probably going to be a bad fight. Kambosos, he's a very good salesman, right? And I like him personally. He hasn't shown me outside of one night that he's a good fighter. Prior to the win over Teofimo Lopez.
Mannix, he's a damn good fighter. He's a former champion. He has championship abilities.
Hold on.
He can have another great night.
Based on what? Like, besides that win over Teofimo Lopez, what has George Kambosos done to make you believe he's a championship level guy? Because you go back before that, Sergio, it's close wins over Mickey Bay, close win over Lee Selby. You spin it forward, wiped out by Devin Haney, wiped out by Devin Haney. Gets a very disputed win over Maxie Hughes. Give him credit for that. Like, it was close. Could have gone either way. Next fight out, wiped out by Vasily Lomachenko. So all these guys that we consider top 5 guys in that weight class have wiped out George Kambosos. I give him all the credit in the world, and I give his team all the credit in the world. I don't know that there has been a boxer in modern history that has capitalized more financially on one win more than George Kambosos did. So Lou DiBella, his promoter, Peter Kahn, who did the deal for him over in Australia, his father, Jim Kambosos, like, they have done a masterful job of turning that one win into a windfall for George Kambosos that will set up him and his family for the rest of his life. But you can't sit there and tell me that there is evidence out there that he is an elite fighter. He had one good night. That's it. And he has not had a good night since then.
Look, you don't need to be an elite fighter to compete with the elite. He has elite talent. I mean, he has elite moments, I'm sorry. But he has great talent. And the reason I give him credit, the reason I give George Kambosos so much credit is because he's a road warrior, man. He goes to other people's backyards. That's very difficult to do, especially when you're not a power puncher. You have to break down opponents.
Hold on. Just briefly aside, what are you talking about? He goes to other people's backyards. He did it once. And then everybody came to him for the last 3 years.
Once he won the championship, that was his thing.
And then he dragged Devin Haney to Australia twice. He dragged Lomachenko to Australia. Okay, but don't call him a road warrior.
Like, before that, he was.
Okay, yeah, against guys like Mickey Bay and Lee Selby. But then he dragged guys. Usyk is a road warrior. Like, you want to talk road warriors, Usyk is a road warrior. Kambosos is a guy that turned his win into and made Australia this destination for boxing. Good for him, but for that too, by the way. That's another feather in his cap, but not in boxing.
Well, compared to Usyk and like Glenn Johnson, yeah, of course he's on road warrior.
Glenn Johnson. I love Glenn Johnson.
I appreciate people that go to other people's backyards because that's something a lot of fighters won't do. I always avoided it because it in close fights, which guys like Kambosos are always going to be a part of because they don't have the power, they're going to be at the risk of the scorecards, and you don't want to do that as a fighter protecting a zero and wanting to make a lot of money with the bigger names. So, look, I credit Kambosos for doing that. But I just think stylistically, just like against Devin Haney and others, he's going to have a problem with Hitchens, stylistically. But, yeah, sign me up for the promotion, sign me up for the fight. As long as the other guys at 140, the other killers at 140 are busy with their fights, this is a good fight in between. So, yeah, I'm
for Richardson Hitchens, it's a great fight. Richardson Hitchens should be dancing in the streets of New York right now that this fight is close to getting finalized. Like, this is what he wants. He gets a name who will talk a lot of trash, who will help sell the fight, and then, in my opinion, may not win more than one round. Like, if I gave you an over-under, if this fight goes 12, of 1.5 rounds won by George Kambosos, what would you take?
I'll take the over.
You would take the over?
I would take
2.5 rounds.
That'll be a trick. I think Kambosos wins 3 rounds. I think Kambosos can win 3 rounds. I think...
But that says something, doesn't it? That we're talking about, like, maybe at best he wins 3 rounds. Look, he's going to be dramatically undersized. He's going to be, in my opinion, dramatically underskilled. Yes. He's in a weight class where he can't hurt anybody. He had an opponent in front of him, a kid, a novice. He couldn't hurt him in the course of that fight. He is not. He keeps calling Hitchens chin-chins. He's not going to hurt Richardson Hitchens. He's not going to reach that chin. Like Hitchens, well, I hope that Hitchens goes for it in this fight and tries to get a knockout, because I think the easiest thing for him to do is to sit back on that jab, throw right hands, and beat Kambosos in the same way he beat Liam Paro in the second half of their fight.
And if he could do this, if he can do that, it's an easy defense. He shuts up another Australian and he stays busy while he's waiting for the big dogs at 140. But in between this fight, I'm totally fine with it. I'm totally fine with Kambosos. I know Kambosos hasn't had a win in a while, but one thing that I think he does better than Hitchens, he closes the gap. He closes the distance better with his foot. With his feet, you know, he's able to close that distance a lot better. He pounces on opponents a lot better. Hitchens is naturally so gifted with that jab and length and reach that he doesn't have to practice on those quick foot movements. I think Kambosos closes his distance and gets angles a lot better than Hitchens, so he can bring that to the table.
2.5 rounds right now, over under.
Over.
Okay, I take the under in that one, but we'll see what happens if that fight happens in mid-June. So we're a couple days removed from the big win by Jaron Boots Ennis in Atlantic City. He gets back to his knockout ways, becomes a unified champion, stopping Amata Stanionis. Boots naturally was not eager to call anybody out afterwards because I think he feels a little bit burned for what happened last time when he said, maybe I'll go to 154. He feels like everybody kind of ran with that, whatever. But his promoter, Eddie Hearn, is not been shy about calling out the other champions out there, basically saying to Brian Norman and Mario Barrios to grow a pair. That's effectively what he's been saying to those two guys. I'm going to put Barrios on a shelf right now because I think Barrios is looking for one big, giant payday somewhere that doesn't include Boots Ennis. The question is going to be Brian Norman. And there have been some rumors and some reporting out there that Brian Norman is going to go over to Japan to fight Jin Sasaki. Like, whatever. Okay, I hope you're getting paid a ton of money to do that if you're Brian Norman, because that's not a fight anybody gives a damn about. I guess my question to you is, since we used the word duck a lot over the last year talking about Boots Ennis, if Brian Norman goes over to Japan and fights Jin Sasaki, or fights anybody not named Boots Ennis, would you consider that a duck?
Quack, yes. And that's because this is a kid that's 27-0, 21 knockouts, just waiting for a big fight, a big moment, and it gets handed to you on a platter. He'll probably make the biggest career payday as well. And he has power. He's a gunslinger. That's what you want. You don't want to face a cutie that's going to be moving around the ring. You want to face another gunslinger, someone that's a champion on your level that just had the biggest win of his career, and all eyes are on him. So even if he comes up short in this fight, it'll be a profitable gamble. And a lot of fighters, Canelo's one of them. Canelo took a profitable gamble. He wasn't ready early in his career when he fought Mayweather, but he made $10 million, and look at him 10 years later, or whatever it is, still on top of the world. Brian Norman has that kind of ability, hunger, youth is on his side, and he has power, man. I would say yes. I would say take this. You're going to be the underdog. Chances are you might lose, but if you're competitive, you hold your own, you get some respect. That title is secondary to the respect that you're going to get, and that respect's going to take you a lot farther in your career and open up more doors to make more money. Look at how long it took Brian Norman Jr. to finally get a crack. It took him a while. People don't mention his name. People still do not mention his name because he's one of these guys that you want to put on the side, on the back burner. You don't have to fight him unless you have to. And if he has this opportunity presented to him, I think he should do it, because if he goes to Japan and faces a no-name with not as much money, you have to call it, circumventing the opponent.
I would say it. Yeah, nice choice of words. It's a duck. It's as simple as that. It would be a duck. Brian Norman just fought on the undercard of Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan. And respectfully, I was at that fight. That was one of the deadest arenas I've ever sat in for a fight. He had a great fight. Yeah, he fought it, but he fought a guy that he should have beat easy. That was exactly what was supposed to happen in that fight. You can't pass on opportunities like this. Yeah. Okay, you pass on it last time around. The money wasn't right. Okay, this time around, the money's going to be right. Like, Matchroom just paid Amata Stanionis what I was told was north of $2 million to fight Boots Ennis. If you can get that kind of payday after making like $200,000 maybe to fight your last fight, and the chance to become a 3-belt world champion in the 147-pound division at 23 years old, you got to do it. And if you don't do it, you deserve to get called out about it. Like, we call guys out all the time for stuff like this. We call Boots out for not taking on Virgil Ortiz. If Brian Norman passes on a Boots Ennis fight to take some, like, who cares about Brian Norman against Jin Sasaki? I honestly don't know what the pay scale is over in Japan. Like, sometimes guys can make a pile of money, and I'm sure Brian Norman's not going over there for nothing. But taking on a guy that was knocked out at 140 pounds a few years ago, unless you're getting 7 figures, it's not worth the aggravation. Like, this is your opportunity. Like, Brian Norman against Boots Ennis this summer in Philadelphia, 18,000 plus. That's a huge event. That's one of the biggest fights you can make domestically here in the U.S. You got to take that opportunity, because Boots Ennis, like, we know there's a clock on how long he's going to spend 147 pounds. And if Brian Norman passes and Mario Barrios isn't available, I know we kind of disagree on this, but I don't think Boots Ennis is going to fight Shakram Giasov. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Boots is going to say, you know what? I tried. Nobody else wants to fight me. I'm going up to where there are bigger fights, where Virgil Ortiz is waiting to make a big fight with me. So Brian Norman may blow this entire opportunity by going over to Japan to fight someone like Jin Sasaki.
Yeah, we're in agreement. Sometimes you have to take opportunities when you don't have any weight to your name. When you're at the back of the list. I mean, Brian Norman's at the back of the list. I put Mario Barrios in front of Brian Norman as far as belt holders, as far as champions. I would much rather face a guy that has lost 2 close competitive fights with 2 champions than an undefeated, unknown, really good champion. So Mario Barrios' name carries more weight than his title. So I think that's what outweighs him. So I agree with you. And the fact that Boots is not long for this weight division in welterweight, man, you got to go straight for him. That's the biggest name, the biggest payday, coming off the biggest. I mean, that was the best performance I seen Boots Ennis have. That was a scary, all eyes on him performance, and that's where you gotta, really maximize.
And Brian Norman wouldn't look at that fight and say, "Oh man, he ran through Stanionis. I have no chance." Brian Norman is stronger than Stanionis. I think Brian Norman's probably a bigger pound for pound puncher than Stanionis. Brian, we've seen even in that fight, Boots can get touched a little bit. So if you're Brian Norman, you're not looking at that fight saying, "All right, well, this is definitely he's too scary for me to fight." You can look at that fight and say there are opportunities for me to win.
Yeah, and he has a puncher's chance. And Stanionis didn't have a puncher's chance. He had to break down someone like Boots Ennis. And Boots Ennis, you'll be lucky if you put 2 punches together, 2 good hard punches together. And with Norman, you just need 1 to really change the tide of that fight. So it makes a lot of sense for this kid who is waiting for his opportunity.
Like, what are you waiting for?
Boy, right?
Like, well, yeah, from Atlanta, right? His father was a boxer. His father fought actually a couple of months ago.
These guys don't get the opportunities that these coastal city boys or the big city kids champions get. So, man, you can bet he's going to take an opportunity if they give him that
he's a very good fighter. And even though I would make Boots Ennis a favorite in that fight, it's not like it would be a enormous upset. I mean, it would be a big upset, but it wouldn't be like Buster Douglas to see him beat Boots Ennis. Like, you got to take these opportunities when they're there. Otherwise, what are you in this sport for? Right now, Brian Norman is known for being the guy that came out of nowhere and beat Giovanni Santillán. He fought Giovanni Santillán in San Diego. That was a coming home fight for Santillán. Norman wasn't even supposed to be there. That belt that Norman's wearing around his waist right now, that was the belt that was basically being gifted to Santillán. Like, it was the interim title that Santillán was getting after his win over Alexis Rocha. This was a shocker that Brian Norman went out there and did what he did. Now you have an opportunity to become a 3-belt world champion in a sold-out arena and making $2 million+ plus. What are we doing? What are we doing in boxing if those kind of opportunities are not being leaped on?
Hey, scold him, not me, okay?
Scolding.
I get it.
I'm now directing my scolding at his manager, one of my favorite people, Jolene Mazzone. And Adrian Clark, his manager, his co-manager.
There you go.
Everybody needs to come to the table and make a deal, because if they go overseas and fight Jin Sasaki in a fight that nobody's going to watch and nobody's going to care about, there's a chance they could lose the Boots fight forever, and that would be a disaster. That would be an absolute disaster for Brian Norman.
If you were Boots, would you fight him in Atlanta?
Yeah, I'd fight him anywhere. I think there's more money in Philadelphia, but I'd fight him anywhere.
I think you're not giving Atlanta.
Look, if Norman was a bigger name, I would say yes. Like, Boots is the one selling the tickets in Philly. Like, we were in Atlantic City, 10,000 fans there. Many of them came from Philly. Like, I just don't. In fact, I know Brian's not the ticket seller yet. But you know how you become a ticket seller? Beat a guy like Boots Ennis.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you do. All right. On Saturday, I will be in San Diego. You are bailing on this fight, Carl. But I'll be in San Diego to watch Gabriela Fundora defend her undisputed 112-pound championships against Marilyn Badillo. Badillo is an undefeated fighter, but Fundora is a huge favorite coming off her impressive knockout win in her last fight. In fact, she had a number of knockouts or dominant wins in her recent fight. Sergio, there are three women that we would consider superstars in boxing: Claressa Shields, Katie Taylor, and Amanda Serrano. After that, you probably have Michaela Mayer climbing that list, near that list, but not more than that as far as big-time stars in women's boxing. This will be Fundora's first chance to headline a televised card. Do you think that Gabriela Fundora can become the next women's superstar?
Yes, because the names that you just mentioned paved the way for her. And this is a 23-year-old undisputed. She's the youngest undisputed champion in boxing, all right? So she's tall, she has a height, she has a reach, she has a pedigree. I mean, her brother is equally as talented, but hasn't got to that status of undisputed or anything great. But no, I think she's going to be tough to beat at 112. I mean, 5'9", southpaw, that long reach, and nobody's gonna want to face her. She's gonna have a lot of difficulties.
Well, people are going to want to face her because she's going to have money behind her. Because Golden Boy is going to be the bankroll. It's the same reason guys are willing to face Oscar Collazo in men's boxing. Like if you are the money fighter, you're going to bring some of these opponents with belts to the table.
Well, as long as she holds on to those belts and the money, they keep paying them. But Golden Boy is putting up a lot of money for these female fights, just like Matchroom is. So they're really making a lane for women to not only be the main event, but to get paid main event money. So I'm happy for Gabriela Fundora. I think it's her moment to start shining, and they're marketable, Mannix. They remind me of like, what's a female version of Clark Kent? Because that reminds me, when I talk about her brother, that's her. She goes into the gym with her glasses on and kind of darky smiling, and she comes out and comes into the ring a killer.
Yeah.
I mean, they're vicious body punchers. They're very high. They're freakishly tall for that weight. They're southpaws, but they fight like they're half their size. They're combination punchers. They dig down to the body. They do it responsibly, and they go for the knockout. The thing about Gabriela Fundora is, I say it all the time, right? What's the most dangerous thing in boxing? A southpaw with a right hook. That's her best punch. She throws away that left hand just to bait opponents. She throws it away. Boom. All right, here it is. This is the bait. And then once an opponent bites on it, here's good night. It's that check right hook. If that lands and didn't hurt you, here's a body shot for you. She dissects these opponents in front of her, and it's wicked to watch. She's going to be fan-friendly. She will be a star. Golden Boy Promotions will do a great job promoting her in the southwestern area of the country. And then once they get another opponent from the opposite side of the globe or the opposite side of the country, you can bet they're going to go on that side and do what they're doing.
You nailed it right there. I agree with everything you said about Fundora's potential. Rarely in women's boxing do you see someone with this kind of knockout power. Look at Fundora's resume. A lot of times with fighters, men and women, they collect a lot of their knockouts early. Fundora's collecting a lot of her knockouts recently, right? Like Christina Cruz, she knocked out her last opponent. She won her first title by knockout. Like she is beating up the quote unquote elite of the 112-pound division. That is a great sign for the future of Gabriela Fundora. I also am fascinated to see how big she can get. At 5'9", Sergio, she is the same height as Claressa Shields. She's the same height. The heavyweight champion. She's the same height. And when I talked to Fundora recently, we were talking about her move up in weight, but she's like, I could move down. She could actually make 108 pounds, she said. I don't know if that's the right idea, but she could do it. I'm fascinated to see how big she can get against elite competition. How many weight classes can she become the undisputed champion in? I mean, Claressa Shields is the only fighter, male or female, to win undisputed in 3 weight classes. I think that Fundora can do that and then some. She could be undisputed in 5 weight classes, maybe 6 weight classes. Like she's got that kind of body that should theoretically fill out as she gets a little bit older. The question's going to be, can she find that natural rival? Like Amanda Serrano, hold on, has been a great fighter for a long time, right? Great fighter. Was winning titles from 115 to 140. But she wasn't on the map until the Katie Taylor fight emerged, right? 2022 when they fought for the first time. That was what mainstreamed Amanda Serrano. Jake Paul did too prior to that, bringing her into the MVP fold. But Amanda Serrano became a global star because of these fights with Katie Taylor. Is there an opponent out there that will emerge as the Katie Taylor to her Amanda Serrano?
For right now, it doesn't matter. Look how long it took Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano to cross paths. They were both in their 30s. Katie Taylor was in her mid-30s, almost 34 years old, before they finally had that moment of history at Madison Square Garden in the Mecca. It took them, Serrano well over 40 fights, and it took Taylor to clean out lightweight and have to move up to do something special and make magic.
Well, they fought at lightweight first. Their first fight was
that was a magical moment for them. But look at how much blood they had to spill to get to that moment. Now, mind you, once it happened, that's the reason we're getting a trilogy, because it's incredible. It's incredible what these 2 fighters have done for boxing. All right, so they're going to go down as all-time greats in boxing, not just women's boxing. Fundora instead of doing it backwards like Serrano started heavy and then went down light and then went back up and light. She just had that body frame. She worked hard and there wasn't that much competition. The thing about Serrano, she won a lot of those championships in vacant titles. She was winning vacant titles, so she wasn't beating champions. Fondora's beating champions.
Yep. Good champions.
Good champion. Alanis is no joke, man.
Alanis beat Marlon Esparza.
Alanis is no joke. And Alanis came with a nice game plan when she fought Fondora. She was moving around the ring trying to set her up
that
with
didn't
looping
last
shots
long.
until it wasn't a good game plan. So Fondora's the truth, man. Fondora's going to be hard to beat. I don't think no one beats her in the lighter flyweight divisions. I think when she finally meets her match, she's going to be at 118 and higher.
You know, you talk about how late the Taylor Serrano stuff happened, and you're right. But that was largely because Katie Taylor didn't turn pro very late. Like Katie Taylor, like Claressa Shields, like Michaela Mayer, they were pioneers. Like women's boxing didn't amount to much before they got into the game. Now,
I don't know about pioneers.
Well, they're pioneers.
Layla Ali is a
right,
pioneer.
but they were kind of Layla Ali, Christy Martin. They were kind of like one-offs for a while. Like this was when they post Olympics when they started mainstream
Just show the respect.
women's boxing. Of
Pioneers,
course, I
man.
show respect.
Pioneers are the people that first settled the sport. Look up the word, man.
Please
You're the writer.
stop talking to me.
What comes after a pioneer? Settler? They were settlers in the boxing.
You're a settler. You're an invader.
They're pilgrims.
The point is
pugilistic pilgrims.
The point pugilistic pilgrims. You're an idiot. The point is, Fondora's 23. Like she doesn't have to wait until she's 29, 30, 31 to have one of those great rivalries. Like there are some women out there. I mean, one woman I'd love to see her fight if she moves up to 115 is Jenny Fuchs, who we've seen, the former captain of the U.S. Olympic team, a very good boxer. We saw her at the War Grounds last year win an interim version of the 115-pound title. If she comes back and wins a full title at 115, that would be a fun fight between her and Fondora. Maybe a rivalry type of fight emerges between them. Maybe, like with Serrano, someone overseas emerges and comes out at 115, 118, maybe 122 if Fondora can get that big. I just think the only thing that can keep her from becoming a big star in women's boxing is the lack right now of a natural rival. She doesn't have her Serrano or her Taylor. Even with like Michaela Mayer, she had Alicia Baumgartner, she had Sandy Ryan. Like we need someone like that to emerge from these lower weight classes and become that natural rival to give us 2 or 3 good fights between her and Fondora.
She had that rival, but you took her away.
Oh, we're doing this?
You're talking about the plan B. You're talking about someone that's unbeaten. You're talking about someone that's marketable, a champion that's never lost, that retired because you married her. Sanisa Superbad Estrada was that person. They could have had a trilogy that could have competed with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. That could have been special. That could have been a gold mine. But like I said, you took her away. So because of that, Fondora's going to struggle and not going to be able to find the right adversary to make a boatload of money and make history.
For the 900th time, I did not make Sanisa Estrada retire. I am not the reason Sanisa Estrada retired. But I'll make you put your analyst hat on since you brought it up. Who wins? Superbad versus Sweet Poison.
Look, I've known Superbad since she was 8 years old. I watched her grow up and become a champion.
That's pretty creepy, not going to lie.
She's incredible. I've seen her beat up boys in the gym since she was young. But I'll put Fondora on top of that. I'm going to give you that analyst hat. You hear me, Superbad. I'm not hating against you. Just styles make fights. But I'll tell you one thing that Estrada has over her. She has this chip on her shoulder I've never seen any female fighter had. That girl has this, I'm going to F this girl up no matter what. She can box, she can fight, and she brings strategy to the table. So I would put Fondora ahead as far as the odds. But, man, that would be a great fight just because of hunger and someone's getting knocked out.